You feel like you don't matter, feel like your life doesn't matter, get involved.
I call our first witness.
For the record, Ms. TeHuia's will be reading from her first brief of evidence, number A1, and her second brief of evidence, number A69. Kia ora tātou, ngā mihi nui koutou katoa mō tēnei ata. Kia ora te rangatira, tēnā koe. My name is Katerina Jean TeHuia's. I bring this claim on behalf of myself, Maori parents, whānau and pepe living in New Zealand today who have been impacted by the Crown's targeting of Maori for state intervention. I believe that the Crown, through Oranga Tamariki, is targeting Māori children for state intervention, has breached Te Reti o Waitangi through its cruel treatment of Māori women, whānau and children by uplifting babies and children without sufficient investigation or consultation with whānau. On the 26th of February 2019, I attended a meeting of concern of abuse of the past regarding the taking of children from mothers from the 1960s through to the 1980s. Those parents shared the loss, the impact, and the forced taking of their children and their babies who were forcibly adopted. Sadly, my 28-year experiences as a Māori midwife show that the taking of Māori babies from their mothers is not merely an historical issue. It happens now today. It is an issue of the present, and if things don't change, it will be an issue of the future. I have personally witnessed the trauma felt by mothers and whānau whose babies are removed from them at their birth and without notice. The horrific and traumatic experience as a midwife when someone steals the baby. Some of those stories have been shared with me by other Māori midwives throughout the country. I have been the midwife caring for Māori mothers and their newborns when babies have been forcibly removed by Oranga Tamariki, formerly Child, Youth and Family, and I will refer to these names interchangeably. As a professional midwife of 29 years, I have often offered the best place and advice to Oranga Tamariki officials as midwifery practice working in partnership with whānau is developed. I attend women in their homes, I work alongside them and their whānau. Often I care for the mother for quite some time throughout her subsequent pregnancies. However, my professional knowledge and expert opinion is not taken into consideration when decisions are made to remove a child. Parents and their whānau not always informed that their child will be uplifted at the birth. I believe this is a cruel and inhumane way. This strategically targets the mother when she is at her weakest, physically, spiritually, and emotionally. Where mothers are informed prior to giving birth, they are not given enough information about investigations by Oranga Tamariki. On the 22nd of April 2019, I was contacted by a desperate young mother who was told by Oranga Tamariki only 4 days before her due date that she should find a lawyer. Her baby was to be taken at the birth. Oranga Tamariki provided her with no support whatsoever and failed to explain the situation to her. Information regarding the impending uplift of a newborn baby has also been deliberately withheld from me as the midwife. I have been unable to prepare the mother, the whānau, in most cases myself either. As the midwife in this situation, my own safety has been put at risk by these decisions, as I am threatened by whānau and disbelieved of by the mother who believes I am part of the system. In one instance, the Maori baby was forcibly removed from her mother at the birth and taken to the postnatal ward of the Hastings Hospital by a DHB staff. There it was placed in the nursery alone. The mother was not 50 metres down the corridor, but was not allowed to see the baby. The foster parents who were supposed to take the child were away on holiday in Australia, and on their return 2 weeks later, they uplifted the baby from the hospital. The mother cried for 3 days, not being allowed to see her baby. She did not know the baby was within metres of her. I wrote a complaint to the Hawke's Bay DHB CEO and was advised that I could have a debrief. In another instance, a Maori baby was removed immediately after the birth without the mother knowing. She was alone in her room. She was numb from the hips down, having just had a caesarean section. Hospital staff entered the room, asked that they check the baby's temperature, removed the baby from the room, and it never returned. Sometime later, the mother asked where her baby was and was informed that the baby had been taken to Oranga Tamariki. I believe this is cruel and an inhumane way to treat a woman who has just given birth. Subsequently, she rang her young partner, who returned to the hospital on a push bike to comfort his partner. He became angry and was removed from the hospital by the police. On the 20th of March in 2019, I was contacted by a young mother whose newborn baby had been taken at the birth early in 2018. The mother had undergone the caesarean section, was incapacitated when staff entered the room and removed her baby. She was advised once she was pregnant, or if she got pregnant ever again, that child would also be taken at the birth. She and her whānau had done everything that they could, asked of them by Oranga Tamariki, to see the return of their first baby, but they have not been successful. They say the reason Oranga Tamariki have given for removal of the second baby are wrong. You cannot take a second child just because you've taken the first. I have been personally involved in or know many cases where babies have been taken from Māori mothers, and the process leads me to believe there is systemic bias against Māori women, with Oranga Tamariki at the very least ignorant of the needs of many of these women. For example, I know of a 24-year-old Pākehā woman having given birth to her third child at the Hastings Hospital, her history of drug and alcohol use, her history of homelessness, but in this instance, the mother was left alone. She was not referred to Oranga Tamariki and left the hospital with her baby. Racism toward Māori is systemic, and it is supported by the Crown and the way Oranga Tamariki deal with complaints against Māori parents. I was at the DHB with 20 DHB staff present, discussing ways we should be working together to support vulnerable Māori women. One of the midwives, a white South African immigrant midwife, said this of Māori women: how come they are allowed to keep having babies? Why don't they just sterilise them? Healthcare staff have racist views, such as which are common in other Crown entities. 94% of the workforce in this country are white, middle-aged women. In another instant, I was phoned by the hospital and asked if I was looking after a 19-year-old Māori woman who I had been a midwife for previously. I was further told the woman had a positive pregnancy test and with her doctor, and the result had triggered an investigation of concern to the local DHB multidisciplinary team. They were then carrying out an investigation of this woman purely because she had had a positive pregnancy test. The fact that I was informed of this woman's pregnancy status and the fact that she was undergoing an investigation without her knowledge and without her consent, and with hospital staff having confirmation that I had been engaged as her midwife, is clearly a breach of her privacy. I do not believe that this information would have been disclosed had she have been a Pākehā pregnant woman. On other occasions, I have been called to the hospital and told a woman has been admitted. When I have arrived, her partner is sitting beside her, a mongrel mob member, and wearing his patched jacket. Often I am advised by staff they did not know the couple and asked why I had been rung. I was told that because I am a Māori midwife and they were mobsters, that I should care for them. There is a total misconception about Māori, about who we are and who we represent. Since the media exposure of the attempted uplift of a new baby at the Hastings Hospital, the issue has gone viral. I'm glad that it has. Now people will know what it is to be Māori, to be having a baby in this country today, and this is not historical. It happens today. It goes on every day. I have recently started a Facebook page, Not One More Baby to Be Taken. It has 12,000 members, women and previous children who have been taken, their stories and their posts sharing of the grief, finding children and the struggles to get their children back. I appeared on Māori television on Sunday the 16th of June, and before that show aired, I let the Facebook know that I was going there. I was asked by members, tell me what is important for you so that I can tell them. They replied, inquiry into SIFs, transparency in the agency, family courts that listen, independent groups who support whānau to navigate in and out the system, check allegations before destroying whānau, independent group who checks on the well-being of children in state care, SIFs workers held accountable for wrong actions, caregivers who abuse children for years to be held accountable, and wraparound services to keep family together, stop separating siblings, whānau-based outcomes, strengthen families, children not to be taken out of New Zealand and given to foster carers who live overseas. Help for parents, more live-in options, more family support, more community support, more help for domestic violence. Agencies need to work better together. I could go on and on and on. There's 5 pages of it. Choices, children's voices to be heard. antenatal classes for young Māori women, budgeting classes for young mums, proper housing, proper education for ourselves, better schooling so that we're better educated, better jobs so that our families don't spend all the money on rent, better housing that's warm, better healthcare system for our children. I can't help thinking the list is about human need. It's not a basic Māori need, it's basic human need.